Should you wait for the release of Overwatch 2 or just get into Overwatch 1 right now? Heck, is Overwatch 2 even worth waiting for in the first place? The answer is simple. Yes, but actually no. Now that the buzz around BlizzCon is over and all of our collective hype and or frustration has hopefully subsided, I feel like it would be a good time to talk about something that is probably on a lot of players' minds, at least those of you who have at least a passing interest in Overwatch as an IP. Getting into live service games 5 years down the line is a daunting thing because there always appears to be so much catching up to do. How much content do I have to grind through just so I can finally get to the most recent editions? How many hours do I need to spend doing monotonous things before getting to the fun parts? And how much am I gonna absolutely get destroyed by veterans that have been playing since the beta before I can start having a good time? As much as there are a lot of things to worry about when it comes to jumping into live service games that have been around for years, there are also some advantages. Games that have been around for so long usually build up a massive catalog of content that, should you be willing to engage with it, can provide many hours of entertainment. But in the case of Overwatch, and by proxy Overwatch 2, I feel like we have an interesting case to talk about. So first off, let us breeze through the basics just so we are on the same page. Whether or not Overwatch 2 meets your personal definition of a sequel is, well, ultimately up to you. But if you haven't been keeping up with the details presented at BlizzCon, I uploaded a video that covers all of these things to get you up to speed. If you have watched that video, or you have been watching BlizzCon yourself, then something should immediately stick out to you. Overwatch 2 is not going to fix Overwatch 1. Whatever grievances you have with the game as is, and whatever things keep you from getting invested, are very likely to not change with the sequel. Overwatch 2 is not trying to tear everything out of the current game and then do it again but better, as would be the case with other sequels. Instead, it is very much taking a DLC approach where it is building on what is already there. If you do not like how Overwatch plays right now, then Overwatch 2 is not going to change that because it is just going to be an improved version of that same framework. So let's address the two core audiences that the sequel is trying to market towards upon its release. Yes, of course I'm talking about PvE versus PvP. If you're one of those players who always thought that the cinematic shorts are way cooler than the actual game, then Overwatch 2 might be the perfect entry point for you. Since the sequel is going to include not only access to the base PvP game, but also unlock a unique story campaign as well as PvE progression systems and content, you get all the benefits of living out your hero fantasies without the anxiety-inducing atmosphere created by a PvP-only game. For those of you who really just care about the competitive PvP aspect, Overwatch 1 is a perfectly fine game to get stuck into as is. However, there are benefits to waiting for the release of the sequel for you as well. First off, content updates. It is no secret that every live service game on the market is fighting tooth and nail for the attention of gamers. Regular updates are meant to keep engagement high to make sure you don't go spending your time playing Fortnite when Apex Legends keeps releasing map updates, new characters, weapons, and skins. More player engagement is always good for the developer because more engaged players are more likely to be spending more money. As such, even when the updates are free, they are hoping to appeal to your goodwill by providing a satisfying service so that you feel inclined to spend some cash on a new skin or two. Overwatch doesn't do that, like, at all. First off, Overwatch is not a free-to-play game, at least not at the time of writing the script for this video. Blizzard is asking for your hard-earned money just to get access to the game, on top of constantly trying to sell you on loot boxes, despite the fact that we haven't had any meaningful content updates in over a year. As a matter of fact, support for Overwatch 1 has been very anemic for the better part of the last 3 years. Frankly speaking, most of its lifespan, as Blizzard continued to recycle their seasonal events year after year with the odd new hero and map addition to break up the monotony. Back in 2019, they announced that content updates for Overwatch 1 will stop as they are funneling development resources towards the sequel, meaning the game is currently on life support, and you can feel it. Because that brings us to our second point. Queue times. The lack of content updates doesn't just reflect in an unhappy player base making forum posts about how it is unfair that their favorite hero has not been getting a new skin in years. Overwatch is a game built on skill-based matchmaking, which means at the time of queuing for a match, the game is trying to find teammates and opponents who are roughly in the same ballpark of how good or not so good you personally are. Now obviously I can't speak for every bracket of players, but I can tell you from experience that even if you're just remotely above average, chances are your queue times are gonna get unpleasantly long, at least from time to time. Depending on the role I want to play, it isn't unusual for me to spend 5 to 10 minutes in queue for a casual round of Overwatch, which, mind you, lasts anywhere between 3 and 8 minutes. Yes, your queue times can often be longer than the duration of a quick play match, which makes it not quick at all. Blizzard has responded to that feedback a while ago and allows you to now participate in custom games while you wait for your match. But considering the fact that 6v6 PvP is the meat and potatoes of Overwatch, chances are you're gonna get tired of it eventually. But once you finally end up in a match, you're gonna have to deal with number 3, Smurf accounts. I suppose that Smurfs and veteran players are kind of in the same category as far as this problem is concerned. Since Overwatch does work on SBMM, you shouldn't actually come across any veterans if you are a new player. However, this game has gone on sale so incredibly often for so incredibly cheap that most of us who have been around for a few years now have at least 3 or 4 accounts. There is a variety of reasons for why we did that, anywhere from the skill-based matchmaking system not allowing you to queue for rank with your friends if you are too far apart on the ladder, to bored Grandmaster players who just have nothing better to do with their day than pretending it is a challenge to go from unranked back to their original rank on a new account. Point being, if you are a new player, you are undeniably going to run into Smurfs, and chances are that you'll see them often. Frankly speaking, there isn't even anything you can do about it, because when a player just outclasses everyone in the lobby by a huge margin, the whole hero counter concept doesn't really work, especially if you're just getting started and you don't even know which heroes to pick in order to counter another one. So how does waiting for the sequel fix any of these issues if you are still interested in Overwatch? As much as I may have presented these as separate problems, they actually stem from a single source, which is Blizzard's negligence towards the game. The release of Overwatch 2 is going to be accompanied by a huge marketing push that is going to bring new and old players back into the game. That means queue times are going to get cut down in all skill ranges. Shorter queue times for higher ranked players means fewer of them are going to feel the need to go on their low ranked Smurfs. The PvE content allows players to play together in co-op without needing completely separate accounts just to be able to queue together, and the sequel is going to kickstart a new cycle of content updates that finally breaks the monotony. But let's address the elephant in the room. We can all sit here and pretend that Blizzard has most definitely learned their lesson and things are certainly going to get better in the future, but actions are simply louder than words. I'm not here to antagonize individual developers or spokespeople, but as a company, an entity that exists to make money, Blizzard has a track record, one that does not look very promising. Rose-tinted glasses aside, as awesome as the release of Overwatch was, the game released with a very apparent lack of content. The game launched with an anemic roster of characters, a very limited amount of core game modes, and of course, rank play wasn't even implemented until the player base began crying out for it. The first year of Overwatch's existence was spent playing catch-up as they desperately filled out their hero roster to be able to provide something of a competitive experience in what was always meant to be a fun arcade shooter. I mean, sure, the game cost $40 as opposed to $60, but Blizzard was not shy to stuff their premium game with microtransactions in return for the promise of a well-supported live service, and that promise was undeniably broken in 2019 when they announced that we will no longer get meaningful content updates so they can focus on the sequel. Listen, I'm not trying to play the entitled gamer card here, but the fact of the matter is that they made a decision. I don't go trying to build houses while my own roof is still leaking just to then tell myself, well, I can't fix the leaking roof I promised to maintain because I'm trying to build a new house. Activision Blizzard is one of the most profitable gaming publishers on this planet, and they could have done their due diligence of building out the infrastructure to work on the sequel while still supporting their live service. Instead, they pulled their resources to keep costs at a minimum and gave us a half-baked excuse as to why they can't keep their promise. Bottom line for me is that don't try to sell a live service if you're not planning to maintain it. We're not talking about some indie company that overestimated how many units they could ship and now they're scrambling to be able to afford keeping the servers running. This is Activision Blizzard. I mean, for crying out loud, how many sports cars do your executives need? What I'm trying to say is that there is history and a proven track record of negligence. I'm not gonna tell you it is a good idea to wait for something based on a promise from a company that has proven to not honor another such promise. But it isn't all bad. There's a reason a lot of us are still sticking around to play Overwatch because honestly, the game is absolutely phenomenal. Here's the thing, right? There's no developer in the world that can produce new content fast enough for us gamers in quarantine to remain satisfied indefinitely. Yes, Overwatch is on life support right now, but it has been for a really long time. And yet, we're still playing it. And that's because the game we have just is that good. Obviously, we are longing for more of what we love, and Blizzard is notoriously bad at balancing any of their games that I have ever touched. But still, every time I pick up a new hero, especially another one from a different category, it almost feels like I'm playing a completely different game. I've never had this innate desire to achieve mastery in any other game I played, and as much as Overwatch has the FPS label attached to it, really, it shines the brightest in the variety of its non-FPS characters. Heroes like McCree are really fun when I'm trying to get my FPS fix and feel good about start improving my aim. But then I can switch to Genji in a moment's notice and suddenly I'm playing a robot ninja slicing and dicing his way through the enemies. If I get tired of dishing out damage, I can queue for tank and have a completely different experience. Suddenly, I'm wielding a mighty hammer to lead my team to victory while engaging in main tank mind games with the opposing Reinhardt, the result of which can literally dictate the pace of the entire match. If I get tired of the 6v6 format, I have an entire catalog of curated arcade modes I can jump into just for a change of pace. And thanks to the workshop tools provided by Blizzard, our community has been creating brand new custom game modes on a regular basis. In my opinion, Overwatch is at its best in a cooperative environment. Competitive play, despite its toxicity, proves that time and time again. The workshop continues to prove it, and I am convinced that the co-op campaign and PvE missions are going to prove it yet again. Overwatch 2 is not a waste of resources only because it hugely focuses on the implementation of PvE, with PvP improvements as a bit of an afterthought. I think we'll get to enjoy this game just in even more ways than we did so far already, and how is that a bad thing? Of course, as with all things in life, there is a balance to strike. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a game and being excited for new additions to it, whether that means updates or sequels, but don't let this excitement turn a blind eye on the problems that have been plaguing this game since its inception. A poorly supported live service with bare minimum content updates that finish the game more than expanding it, notoriously horrendous PvP balancing that makes competitive players in high ranks tear their hair out, and a developer that declared Smurf accounts a non-issue as long as we continue filling Activision's pockets. Should you wait for Overwatch 2? Well, I hope after having watched this video you continue to get other people's perspective on the matter so that you can make an informed decision about that at the end of the day. But I hope that my perspective as a longtime Overwatch fanboy and Activision Blizzard critic provided yet another piece to that puzzle. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for watching today's video. It is a bit of a throwback to my old discussion and essay type content that I haven't made in a while, but by all means do drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and as always, feel free to discuss among yourselves down in the comment section below. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and until next time, peace!